Hey everyone, this is Andy Hall. Down there is not Sam Slade, because Sam Slade's over there. No, he's over there. Is Sam Slade, and down there is Dead Air Dennis Mailer, and so we're just talking. And Sam was just sharing, and this is about the only intros we're going to give people today. That's about it. This is like a slow roll Friday morning. Sam was talking about a local Austin lawmaker who apparently has someone super young as a boyfriend, consort. I don't know what the official term is, Sam.
They said boyfriend. Okay, so I don't give a fuck. I'm over all of it. The guy's name is Jimmy Flanagan. He's a city councilman. He's always been on the right side of everything in Austin, in my book, as far as local city ordinance and the direction we want to push Austin. Andy, I got to be honest, and I don't want you to take this as an insult. In the HBO made-for-TV movie, with the look you've got going on right now, you nail a Jimmy Flanagan for TV. So just to give people a version, I mean, you're very more sexied up, you know. But okay, so picture that, guys. Picture that, listeners or viewers, whatever. Weird. Not you, Andy. Not weird. It's weird trying to realize. Do we have listeners or viewers now?
I think we have
consumers.
We'll go with consumers, maybe viewers. One of those.
Media consumers.
Yes.
Anyways, the guy posts pictures during the quarantine of his boyfriend giving him a haircut, and Tara brought it to my attention because the kid looks not a day over 12 and a half.
Yeah, that's uncomfortable when it's somebody you want to support, and then they do something like that may be perceived as creepy. Then you're like, oh no, not one of us.
I know. And it's you're like, you're one of the good guys we have left in Austin, dude. Please don't post shit like that. I don't care what you do at home, but don't fuck it up for people over in Terrytown in the Republican neighborhoods who are really liking what you're talking about.
Well, that brings up that story that I heard. I don't know where you can find the story, but I heard, I'll tell you where I heard it. Kevin Pollak he ended a podcast for a number of years. It was both video and audio podcast. And one of the
great
episodes told a story about working behind the scenes of Usual Suspects. And apparently, I want to say it's Bryan Singer was the writer for that. Right?
Yes. He would have to direct the X-Men movies, that first round of X-Men movies.
Yeah, I always sometimes in my head, I mix up Bryan Singer and Zack Snyder. Just because proximity and they both look similar, I guess. I don't know, but I always mix up. I want to make sure I'm right on it. So Bryan Singer wrote The Usual Suspects, or he was there, and he is homosexual and has a very young boyfriend, foreign boyfriend, like of the Latinx persuasion and stuff like that. It's very like man and love child situation, but it's fine. It's all normal and legal, but it's that. The story that Kevin Pollak tells is that basically on set, Kevin Spacey stole Bryan Singer's boyfriend from him in the middle of production, and it caused a huge catastrophe. And of course, that just further proves that Kevin Spacey's a fucking creepo.
I heard that story. Yeah, Kevin Spacey stole this dude's boyfriend. That's a pretty shitty move, one way, no matter how you look at it.
Welcome to Friday with Stealing Your Man. I'm Dennis, Andy, and Sam, and we're going to talk about how to steal your man, or how to steal your man's man, or anything like that. That is not what's going to happen. But
maybe we should just keep it under a large umbrella term of theft that we're going to explore.
We opened the show with woke ass gay men stealing each other's man talk. That's basically what this was. Hey, we approve of their love. We're doing it when one person whose love we approve of steals the love of the approved person that we approve of. And Kevin Spacey's a
well, Bryan Singer comes up around our house quite a bit because I don't know if you guys remember the story. Well, first of all, my co-host for Weirdos at Home, my girlfriend Tara Brown. You like how I did that?
I saw that. That was good.
Seamless plug.
So she's a big X-Men fan, like unhealthily sometimes when it comes to those first round of movies. Very into them. And Bryan Singer did those movies. Now, if you believe anything out of Rolling Stone, that old rag of a magazine, or Variety, that trash bag of a trade, Bryan Singer had this little deal going where if you came to his pool party and kind of served it up, you might get to play one of the young hot X-Men.
Served it up. What does that mean? Explain it to me for the.
I mean, get fucked in the ass, Andrew.
I love you have such a way with words when it comes to the romance language of anal sex, there, Sam.
Well, those are Bryan Singer's words. I'm just hoping to make Apocalypse.
I feel like Bryan Singer's a better writer. He would use instead of saying "fucked in the ass," I feel like he'd more be like to be lovingly sodomized by a person of your choosing.
My God, we're about to get kicked off the internet for good, fellas.
I know.
The good news is that the MCU has acquired X-Men, so we don't have to worry about Bryan Singer and his antics any longer.
I've been looking forward to the X-Men coming to the MCU for quite some time, and I herald their arrival whenever that may be. When is the first X-Men movie supposed to be coming out anyway?
They haven't announced
from what? Yeah, they're gonna slip them in through other MCU movies, right? Isn't that right, Dennis? Isn't that what is kind of being floated?
I know they have not officially said anything about X-Men. Feige is like, yeah, hey, cool, it's great, we like them. We'll see. I personally don't care. I love the X-Men comics. I enjoy the X-Men movies for all their flaws. I still enjoy them. I still watch them. But I have no interest of bringing them to the MCU. I'm fine with where we are. It sucks that they tried to make that they forced the Inhuman hand too hard to replace. They did very much what the comics did, where when they couldn't put X-Men in the comics after House of M, that they ham-fisted Inhumans to replace the X-Men, and they did that in the MCU. And it wasn't the best move, but I'm okay with them just going the way everything is. If they never introduce the X-Men or Fantastic Four, I'm going to die a very happy man. I'm okay without them. Maybe I'm the minority in that situation, but I'm really okay without having them.
Dennis, don't you want to see Doctor Doom being done correctly?
Yes, Andy.
I've seen 2 failed attempts, and I'm willing to not see a attempted third attempt.
Your heart's been broken. That's what I hear, Dennis. Your heart's been broken. Yeah.
And they're already telling such great stories, and they have a plethora of awesome, amazing other characters that they can play around with, introduce, and do great storylines with. So I'd rather them see that. And I understand the whole X-Men comics was always about representation, and I'm all for representation. I'm just saying we don't have to do representation with the X-Men. We can find something else to do it.
I heard Jimmy Flanagan's boyfriend's going to play Nightcrawler. He's going to go by a different name, though. We're not going to get into that.
Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That we're waiting on Black Widow, that they pushed it back because of all that's going on. I'm 1,000% behind. Hey, release it digitally and then re-release it in theaters when we're allowed to go back to the theaters. Yeah. If AMC can withstand this quarantine and the backlash of saying, hey, we're not going to force anyone to wear a mask because we don't want to be political, aka we're being political.
Yeah. There's no getting you can't be on the fence on this. You're either pro-mask or anti-mask to some extent. I mean, to an extent. It's a political choice one way or the other. If you decide to wear the mask or not wear the mask.
And I think the best thing for them to do, since none of their theaters are open right now, is to just not say anything. Don't throw out your plans of, hey, when we go back, whether they make masks a mandatory or not, we're not going to enforce it. Just don't say anything. And when people start coming in and they're not wearing masks, just continue to not say anything, and nobody's going to give a shit. But instead, you put your foot in your mouth, shot yourself in your own foot, and then put it in your mouth like a jackass, going on the wrong side of all of this mask, anti-mask debate.
Well, I mean, how disgusting would it be for film to get to a place where we're sitting around debating on shows like this, or just talking to each other off air? Do you think that movie's mask worthy? Do we really want to have those conversations? Like, are we really going to be like, well, do you want to go see this one in theater? We're going to have to wear a mask and sit 10 seats apart, but it might be pretty sweet.
I mean, look, sitting 10 feet apart or in an empty movie theater is how I watch movies. I go on Monday morning, Monday afternoon, just so I don't have to be around other people. I'm okay with socially distant movie theaters.
That was one of my That was one of my favorite parts about doing morning radio is leaving the radio station and going to hit that like first Friday morning showing of the whatever the new movie was at like 11. And there's like the summer camp kids are just now walking in when you're walking out. You're ready to go spoil it for every fucking person you know.
Right. And I feel, my schedule's the same way as it is right now. I get out of work at 9 o'clock in the morning, so I can easily hit that first show on opening weekend. And I feel bad. I feel angry when there are other people in the same theater with me. It's like, what are you doing here? Don't you have a job? Don't you have a life? I don't. I may not. But this is my time. This is Andy time.
This is the true fan time right now. It's either midnight premiere or 9 a.m. opening the doors. Some 13-year-old pimple-faced kid rubbing the sleep out of his eye and then rubbing it into your popcorn oil. That is when the true fans go in to see the movies, not these other schmucks that are, I don't know, jobless or took off so they can say that they watched it before all the spoilers hit the next day.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's crazy. I have to say, to go back to the MCU thing real quick. Andy, how did you want to see just straight up, hey, here's an X-Men movie. Hey, here's Fantastic Four. I'm so into this. I've driven Tara crazy around here during quarantine, fan casting and coming up with my theories about how you thread the needle with these guys. Would you rather see it just, hey, here's a new X-Men, or would you rather see it kind of intertwined and, oh shit, like the buildup of, hey, maybe we're working to a team up, like the way they did with Avengers to some extent?
I think it would be smart for the MCU to do it like that, right? Because then you get to broaden, because this is the whole, whatever phase we're in with the MCU universe, to start off a whole new kind of series of books, so to speak, or series of movies. They should do exactly what they did last time, build up individual characters that are, like Wolverine, like make a real Wolverine movie within the MCU. That would be pretty cool, because that's what people want to see. And then you insert him into the group. Yeah, that would be pretty awesome. Like with a lot of the traditional X-Men, like Colossus couldn't have his own movie. I mean, maybe he could. I don't know.
Right.
But definitely Wolverine could do his own movie. Maybe even Professor Xavier. He's a pretty interesting character.
Sure. Yeah, there's definitely a B team when it comes to the X-Men, right? Like you have like your mainstays, you kind of have like your Murder's Row, and then you have like all the B team characters that you can just kind of season with, I guess. I don't know. Right.
They're like the Hawkeye. They're like the Hawkeye
right.
of the team. They'll just come in, they fill out the cast of characters, and they don't need their own movie.
They're like Hawkeye, just much, much more interesting.
All Hawkeyes matter. I'm sorry. I think the what was his Matt Fraction recent Hawkeye run was really great and interesting, and I would love to see a Matt Fraction inspired Hawkeye movie with Jeremy Renner. Imagine Jeremy Renner's character from what was it? The
Town.
Yeah. Imagine the reformed Jeremy Renner character from The Town as a espionage spy type. Oh, hell yes, absolutely.
Get out of here, Dennis Miller. Get out of here.
Jeremy Renner would crush it. He would crush a Matt Fraction.
Hey, Trey and I were watching. Last weekend we were sitting here watching The Town on this TV right here, and we turned to each other. We go, "Where the hell was that in Hawkeye? This guy's the baddest dude ever."
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, they never really gave him much to work with until what was it?
Not Civil War. Ultron, when he's like saving all the people on the. I mean, island.
They give him a little more with it's Civil. Wait, why am I blanking? What's the one?
It was the movie that they bring them back to the house, right? To their house. I think that was
Civil War. Civil War.
I don't know why I faltered on Civil War there, because I was like, wait, was that not Civil War where we introduced him to his wife? I mean, they gave him a little more to work with there in Civil War, and they gave him a ton to work with in Infinity War. Like Infinity War, they gave him so much weight to put on his shoulders and carry around, and Scarlett Johansson got an equal amount of weight to carry around in a smaller time frame, and both of them absolutely killed it and showed how many great acting chops the two of them have. So I'm so glad that in Endgame, in Endgame, they gave the two of them so much to work with, and they absolutely nailed it. Like, people complain about the end game pacing, and I'm like, no, they're pacing it right because they want you to understand, like, when just those few seconds of silence of Scarlett Johansson, a Black Widow, eating a peanut butter sandwich alone a few seconds after they disconnect from the hall. Just, you can feel the breathness and the heaviness and the solitude just non-verbally expressed on Scarlett Johansson's face in those few seconds, and the immediate turnaround to hide and mask all that when Steve Rogers comes in to the office. Beautiful work from her. And Jeremy Renner had great, heavy, like, the two of them fighting over who's going to kill who was kind of cheesy, but the two of them brought so much gravitas to those arguments that it was beautiful to watch them, in my opinion.
Sure. And part of, I wonder if people who were complaining about the pacing were people who were just used to watching 30-second TikTok videos.
Yeah. Or the action movies from the last 20 years or so, Mission Impossible, or not even Mission Impossible. That may not be fair, but some of the more B action movies where they're like, where's the bad guy? He's got the key. We better get going, and then boom, wrap it up, and you're done, right? Like typical 5-point,
Yeah, and in Endgame, it's more, you have Thanos as the villain, but in between, hi, spoiler alerts for Endgame, YouTube audience. If you haven't seen it yet, you're not a fan and you don't care what I'm going to say anyway. So,
indeed,
the killing of Thanos at the beginning and then fighting 2014 Thanos in the movie and everything. Hey, what's going on, KCA, Randy?
Yeah, what's up?
But I get distracted by things. But thanks so much for joining us. So the point I was saying is, so much in between introducing Thanos' death at the beginning and reintroducing Thanos, 2014 Thanos into the movie, that you have to give them something to work against, and what they're working against is their own insecurities, having to overcome the fact that they all failed and that they didn't do anything to. That they lost. You're dealing with through the movie. All of them is dealing with the fact that they lost. It's an introspective, and that's brilliant and different. And I'm glad that they did something like that instead of just going, all right, hey, we can't defeat. Let's try to defeat Thanos. Oh no, we failed. But now we can defeat him now with this item. Here's our MacGuffin. They're character driven about emotion and having to deal with failure, which you don't see in. You don't see that in action movies. You don't see failure. Yeah, the Joseph Campbell's 16 points of the hero's journey or whatever that thing is. You have to deal with the hero losing his first battle and then having to overcome with that. That is not failure. That is them having to learn to become a champion. That is not them reconciling with that they did everything they can, that they have always won, and now that they have lost, how do they deal with loss and moving on? And Endgame gave us that, and I challenge anyone to name another action movie that deals with a similar kind of thing like that, because you don't see the original story.
And you're absolutely right, Dennis. The benefit of having something like the MCU is that you have such a fan base that's willing to go on that ride with you, right? Just like with Star Wars at the end of Empire Strikes Back, the bad guys win, and there's already a fan base who's willing to wait to see what's going on in the next movie. When you just have one movie out there just hanging without being connected to anything else, you have to wrap everything up within that 90 minutes or 2 hours. And that's tough.
Or James Bond, which is not, I can't stand the James Bond movies. If you like them, that's fine. Go for it. I'm happy you are. But to me, they're just episodic, single stories that keep going over and over again. And instead of having to reintroduce new characters, you already know who this person is. So here's the thing, which is great economy storytelling, but they're not telling any interesting stories. They're just movie of the week type stories where it's very, all right, so who's this movie's baddie? At least Mission Impossible. And I came around on those because the third one was garbage, but they really did. They really stepped up
whoa. Hey, Dennis, don't say the third one, Philip Seymour Hoffman. That was great.
Wait, I'll recant my statement. What's the one with the helicopter inside the tunnel?
Oh,
where he got the long hair?
Yeah, and they just like kept pulling off CGI masks.
Yeah, I did see that, but the fact that I can't remember what that movie is shows you the strength, or of course the weakness of that series. Like I can pretty much remember John Wick, those three different movies. That is pretty clear in my head. And even though it's just John Wick shooting people in the head, in all reality, those movies made a bigger impression on me than Mission Impossible.
Yeah, sorry, I recant. 2 was garbage. 3 is where he shoots Michelle Monaghan, right?
Yeah. And the chip is in her head, in Kerry Russell's head, and they have to. What do we do?
Yeah. Okay. That's where I picked up the series years and years later, and I'm not gonna say 3 was the strongest. 2 is garbage. 1 is good. 2 is garbage. 3 was them coming back into doing good, new, interesting stuff, and I think even the most recent one, or the most recent 2, Fallout and whatever the other one is, I can't remember their names, have been, other than their Tom Cruise invisible plot armor spectacles, they're doing interesting and good stuff. And Tom Cruise can emote and do good act, and you have a great cast of characters around them that are all fantastic actors who are doing their parts too. Michelle Monaghan and the Swedish woman who's doing things, who was absolutely amazing, and I can't think of her name.
Well, I'm just wondering what Tom Cruise is going to be in the Expendables. That's what I'm really waiting for.
Tom Cruise is currently older now than Wilford Brimley was when he made the movie Cocoon.
Wow.
That blows your freaking mind. I think Wilford Brimley was like 45. I'll look that up and confirm it, but I want to say he was like 45 when he made Cocoon, and Tom Cruise is currently 58.
Wow, 58, huh?
I'm going to go out on a limb, guys. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I probably won't be hanging on to a 767 just on a cargo net when I'm 58.
I don't have the proper hand strength to do that at any point in my life.
I love the planes warming up, and Andy's like, no, guys, I can, but it's the hand strength thing. We talked about it.
I can't do it. No.
If there's anything I'm good at, it's hand strength, and that's why I've been single for 39 years.
Or is it the other way around? I'll tell you what, we have a new title for this Friday show. It's called Nerds Who Miss Movies So Goddamn Much.
So much.
A much better name than I was going to come up with was Hand Strength with Andy and Sam. I don't know how to spell the word cocoon. That is a fact about me right now, because every time
be careful.
IMDb,
it's kind of the wrong time in this country's history to be learning how to spell cocoon right now on the internet.
I think there's a lot of O's. I think it's very O heavy.
Well, IMDb just can't figure out. Okay, there is no A in cocoon. I don't pride myself on spelling, so feel free to make fun of me if you want. But I can't.
I think it's all O's.
Well, I couldn't spell. Yeah, it is all O's. I couldn't spell Cocoon or Wilford Brimley enough for IMDb to recognize what I was searching for.
Hilarious,
IMDb is very picky. They're very picky.
Yeah, he was. Wilford Brimley was 50 years old when he made Cocoon.
Whoa.
About 50, 51 years old. Tom Cruise is currently, I'm pretty sure, 58. Tom Cruise. He was born in. Come on, internet.
Hey, while Dennis looks us up, hey, Andy, do you think it's silly? We noticed, some of these movies like Ghostbusters and some others have just flat out been put on, hey, guys, don't expect it this year. It'll be back next year when we know things will be safe. We can pack a theater, potentially at least better odds than we can this summer or this fall. What about, like, we noticed the other day, Wonder Woman is just getting pushed back again. And do you think that's smart with everything going on? I mean, it's hard for me to believe that at this point we're not going to end up getting to October or November and then pushing back that whole slate of movies, because we're going to get there and go, guys, y'all didn't wear your mask all fucking summer. Now we got a third wave. Now we got more people dying. We're up to 85 9/11s. No, you can't go see a movie right now.
Yeah, it's just going to get worse in the winter and the fall. Once September comes, October comes, without a vaccine, the only thing that's going to get things back to normal again is a vaccine, whether we like it or not. And so I would just say we're going to have to just write off the whole year, unfortunately, or maybe even write off 18 months.
Well, I know I just lamented a moment ago about not being able to see movies because they're pushing them back and they're going to wait for theatrical releases. I think what was really upsetting is the amount of movies we're not going to get because the time frame has now been crunched down. And I'm not talking about things that I'm talking about things that they were like, oh, we would make this movie and put it out in the off season, but now we have no off season. We have no way to like, let's say Disney wants to put out an independent movie, or anybody who's putting out an independent movie is now more likely going to scrap all of those small indie movies that were going to be released against something where they're like, look, we'll never be a number one box office hit, but we can be supplemental number twos, number threes with these low budget films in the wake of Black Widow or something like that, are now not even going to have the chance of production because the time frame is so crunched that everything's going to come out and be so regimented. Like when they start releasing movies in theaters again, the box office numbers are going to, nobody's going to have, I don't think any movie is going to have a weird trajectory hold of the number one box office for so long because you're going to get Black Widow and then you're going to get The Flash and then you're going to get this and you're going to get it. And everything's going to be so tight to each other that there's going to be nobody to hold the box office. And it sucks because there's lulls in those ebbs and flows of releasing movies and in those what's the bottom part? The ebb?
There is the flow and the ebb. I think the ebb is the low part. Yes.
Yeah, in the ebbs, they release a lot of independent movies knowing that, hey, it'll do well because we're in between these two other things. And they're just not going to make those movies anymore. And I think that sucks as somebody who is a fan of independent movies for the most part. And, somebody that is in the industry myself, sort of, that there's going to be less of those low budget things being released and made because of all this. And I think that's the true crap of all this. Like if they just said F theaters, let's just release things digitally from here out, that is no big crime losing theatrical releases and stuff. But I think the losing of smaller independent or low budget films is going to be the biggest crime in the entertainment industry.
Well, what it's going to do is that you're going to see a lot of those movies that would have been shown on the big screen on the little screen, right? There's just going to be an even larger migration to streaming services with these small films that were going to go into the theaters.
Well, I mean, I would hope that we would see them in the small screens and a shift, but what I foresee is that they're just not even going to put the money towards those things at all. They're going to allocate more money for more bigger box office, popcorn, flicks and stuff, all those things, which is, I like those movies as well. I'm not, they're just not going to scrap the big budgets to make room for low budgets, which I think is the crime, is that we're going to get less low budget because of all this.
Dennis, you're exactly right. That, or you're going to have to run the Kevin Smith model where you're going to have to just get the fucking money together yourself and do it yourself if you want to make it.
Well, here's the interesting thing. Kevin Smith, when he released the movie Red State was a test, was a proof of concept test for a new distribution service. And what it was going to be was he wanted to do a theater tour distribution. So all these small little theaters like the Warner Theater or the Wang or the Wilbur, like those small theaters that aren't movie theaters, what you would get is a showing of the movie and a Q&A with the makers. And he went and did the tour himself, and then he was going to work out the kinks and build this network of small theaters to be able to go, hey, you can't get fun. Hey, you went to South by and your film went to South by, you got nothing. You went to Cannes, you got nothing. You went to Butch Cassidy Sundance. You went to Sundance. And if you
Toronto, right, yeah.
He was saying when he was doing this, is like, I am the true last option. If nobody will give you distribution, we'll do this distribution where you go out and you do a Q&A in a tour bus with the movies, and that's what he was going to do. And unfortunately, it was ahead of its time, and it didn't pan out. He has talked about thinking about reviving that now at this point. Well, not now during this point, but he has recently talked about trying to revive that model because it's more sustainable now than it was, 15, 12 years ago when he tried it. So we'll, I was 20, I was 29.
Yeah.
Well,
I know.
That could be that is something that could be good that comes out of this COVID. So.
I think that is what's going to happen. More people are going to be doing that Kevin Smith model. You look at Forbes had a giant profile on Kevin Smith and the amount of money he made touring with Jay and Silent Bob Reboot last year, saying going into COVID, the most successfully financial or financially successful director in the last 9-10 months or whatever had been Kevin, because he's, hey, come see me, come see my movie, and that was the big draw.
What might work in terms of a model is just having like a traveling show. I mean, not just with one artist and one movie, but having like a roaming film festival,
a variety show. Yeah.
Like a show that just goes for a week at one particular place. And so you have a big name like Kevin Smith, perhaps, and that brings the attention to the movie theater and to the festival. And then other people will just kind of like trickle into the other movies, because being a small time movie maker, it's tough when you don't have a fan base. But if you attach yourself to a bigger name or a roaming festival, that's a lot of buzz for your project.
Or even better, if the bigger name attaches himself to you and gives you his thumbs up and that in society, that's what we were. Oh, if so and so famous said that they are good, okay, I now believe it's good, and I will be a part of that. I remember when Kiefer Sutherland was doing music in Baltimore. When I was living in Baltimore, there was an artist that he had vouched for was coming to town to do a show, and the show sold out. Just because two reasons. One, Kiefer Sutherland said, hey, this guy's really good and you should go see him. And I forgot who this artist was. But more importantly, because people thought they were going to see Kiefer Sutherland at the show.
Oh, right.
I was able to build the fan base off the backs of people who were excited to see Kiefer Sutherland. And this was at the height of his 24 and also drunk punching a Christmas tree in a hotel, whatever it was that he.
Well, hey, who hasn't done that? Who hasn't punched a Christmas tree when you're drunk? I mean, that just happens.
Yeah, but usually it's my own Christmas tree because it's forcing me to not punch somebody in my family. It's the defunct, you're getting punched instead of my racist uncle at Christmas.
That Christmas tree knew what it did wrong. Had it coming. So, Sam, what about your new show? You said that you're starting a new show with your lovely co-host.
Yes, sir, Andrew. We started last Sunday. It's called Weirdos at Home. We shoot it right here. It will air. Last week we did Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday, just as a test run on Facebook Live. In the next coming weeks, it will be YouTube Live. It'll be all over the place. It's going to spread like COVID. Too soon? Too soon? It's Tara Brown and myself, and a lot of it is we were quarantined here together the last few months, and we got to a place, Andy, and I know I've talked to you a lot about this, and we've mentioned it on the show. You get to a point where you're like, surely to God, we're not the only ones dealing with this kind of frustration, having to have these kind of conversations as a couple, as a partnership, as a team during, in the middle of this quarantine. So that's kind of where it got its start. And then we're like, wait, while we're at it, why don't we do the funny bits and funny stories that we do during the day, just trying to keep ourselves sane. So, we do everything. We do news, we do whatever's going on. But a lot of it really is, just kind of what it's like trying to get through it. And I know anybody who's quarantined with a partner, whether you're gay, straight, anything at all, it hasn't been easy. It hasn't been easy the last 3 months, because it's not like you had it on your calendar. Hey, okay, great, guys, March 20th, we don't leave the house again, and we're with each other 24 hours a day. Okay, go. Ready? That shit starts next week. Okay, get ready.
Yeah, no, I'm having a similar problem where I'm stuck with a roommate. I have two roommates because I'm winning at life, but one of them decided to go to Chicago for the quarantine, and we don't know if and when he'll ever be able to come back. But so it's just me and one other dude in this house, and we're friends and we get along, but I'm surprised at this point that I have yet to strangle him, just because, not because he's annoying, but because I'm an insane person who really shouldn't be locked up with anybody for too much time. But my rule has been, I got a foster dog, so I get to go on 17 walks a day just to get away from my roommate, give him some privacy, and give me time to cool off every time he doesn't brush his crumbs off the counter.
So I want to get back to Sam's show for a second. What's it like working with your girlfriend? Because I've seen a lot of boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife duos trying to make working together, and it can be kind of difficult.
Terry, come here. You don't have to be on camera. I know it's early, but just stay right here, just on mic. Andy asked what it was like. What's it like working with with your partner on a podcast? Or how about this crazy person?
As surprising as it may sound, it's actually when we were doing the podcast, we worked together better than I think ever. That's like the best we are.
Our chemistry is at its best when we're doing the show.
Yeah. And after, I mean, it's really done a wonder for our like off the podcast relationship, like getting along outside and working together. I mean, you tell them about it when we moved that couch. Like, that was amazing.
Like 3 days after we started the podcast, we went over to just stopped by a person who's been very quarantined, a friend of Tara's, a young lady. And she just moved into a brand new house and where everybody's staying safe and social distance, everything. And she was like, yeah, I wanted to put this couch in this other little lounge room I have, but I just don't know who I'm going to get. Me and Tara, all of a sudden, we've never had this kind of teamwork in our lives. All of a sudden, you know, it's the fucking mega powers. We just lift up the couch. We have it turned down the hall, set down.
Impressive.
And the lady's like, yeah, that's exactly where we wanted it. So and we're like, cool, we're out of here. We were like, when we got back in the car, we were like, where the hell did that come from? Like, we must be vibing this podcast energy going on.
It's very impressive.
That's nice. Yeah, and I've watched you guys stream, and it's great, and it's nice and wonderful. My question is, do you think is your chemistry just better because you guys have to work and figure out a problem together? Or is it the fact that you're live streaming and everything's being recorded, and you don't want this to be used as evidence later on?
I'm so glad you asked that. That's a question I've been getting asked a lot on social media lately, Dennis, and I'm going to tell you the same response my attorney told me to use, and that is the first thing you said. The first one, definitely the first one. No, I think it's helped us because throughout the day, throughout the week, if we're laughing about something, we'll go like, "Hey, somebody remember that on the show," or you know, if we're frustrated at each other or arguing about something. It's been a great way to diffuse whatever we're arguing about by being like, you know what, I'm talking about that on the podcast. And everybody's like, no. The other one's like, no, you can't talk. You can't rat me out. No, don't tell people.
No one can know what kind of monster I
yeah. Terry said, don't let anyone know what kind of monster I really am is what the vibe is in those moments.
Well,
it's very Lauren Bacall.
To relate, I don't date other comedians, but I know plenty of comedians who have dated each other, and the ones who get along best are the ones that can, when something happens, and they go, "Oh, I'm talking about this on stage," and the other one goes, "Yeah, you absolutely should," as opposed to the, "Oh, you're never going to tell this story to anyone."
Right?
Totally. Better are the ones that go, "Oh yeah, no, absolutely, 100% talk about it on stage." In fact, I'm going to tell my side. So.
Right. Oh, no. She's definitely like that. But I do want to make something clear. Before we build her up and get her too big of a head, before I put a fancy monitor right here, Tara is not a comedian.
Okay. Oh, no. I've definitely heard her try to tell jokes. It was, no.
Wow. I'm not even going to repeat that because she's like, I haven't had my tea this morning and I might come across this table like She-Hulk.
Wow. I'll tell you what the wrong thing to do if you're dating a comedian is or dating someone and deciding to tell a personal story is that you don't warn them beforehand and you just tell the story. I have found out that this is a bad policy to have.
It's not a good idea, Andy. Don't do that again.
It's not a good idea. It's not a good idea to write about it. It's not a good idea to come on YouTube to talk about it. It's not a good idea without getting it cleared.
I don't know if you know this, Andy, but the rule that we have to live by is we never knew or met any women before the current women. Okay? That's the deal. Stick with the story.
Right.
My former roommate and one of my good friends, who's also a comedian, Jesse Miles, and you know, one of his jokes is about he knew his current fiance was the one for him because they were able to trauma bond over their past life experiences. Like, oh, your mom was a drug addict. She was into pills. My mom's a drug addict. She's into cocaine. Uppers and downers, same thing but different. High five. So that's the thing that he has. You know, that's how he knew he found the one because they both had different traumas that they could bond together over each other with.
They complete each other. That's what it is.
We knew it was we knew we had a match here when Tara's mom just took such a liking to me the first time I was around her that she for the first time ever told Tara her story of hooking up with Don Knotts.
Oh my.
I'm gonna have that image in my head for the rest of the day. Thank you very
Well,
much.
Terry's mom at the time was about 22, but the point is this is literally how it started. This is how hard I was killing it that weekend. I go, hey, you like Andy Griffith show? My mom loves Andy Griffith show, and she's like, let me tell you what happened back in Dallas in '63. Forget about that Kennedy. That wasn't the fucking popping going on, and I just got dumped. And I'm getting word I am dumped.
I just have to know what Don Knotts' dirty talk sounds like. Like, oh no, I'm gonna nip you in the butt.
Right? Oh yeah, we can go forever on Don Knotts. Dude, apparently, if you read the old stuff or watch any of the old stuff, he was a real troublemaker when it came to chasing women.
Don Knotts?
Yeah, Don Knotts was like a legendary swinger in like the 60s. Andy Griffith will like go home and work on his lines and write a song on the banjo or on the acoustic. And Don Knotts is out hitting the town, man.
Well, the best part about having sex with Don Knotts is that you know his gun is full of blanks, so no rubbers.
Oh. Rich Little's estate will be contacting you this afternoon, sir.
Oh man, I feel it's been probably 25 years since I've seen a single episode of Andy Griffith, but I feel like I can make a lot of Don Knotts Andy Griffith references throughout the rest of the day. So
I was on we were talking about, I was on Chris Mallard's show on the Daily Atheist show, and Chris paired me up with a guy who wanted to be an anonymous, completely anonymous, going by a fake name because he was a Muslim, a very conservative Muslim who had just left Islam. And they were like, you know who'd go great on that show? The degenerate white guy at Austin who talks about his dick looks like Larry Fine. Dude, that'd be a perfect match. So they have me on, right? And they're talking about all this, Islam stuff. And they're like, hey, when was the first time you heard of Islam? And I'm like, I thought Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a very sweet man, but that's the wrong thing to say on the Daily Atheist, And they're like, fuck you. Get the fuck out of here. So anyways, I was like, I just was answering the question. I don't know. So I pointed out, we were talking about religion on old TV shows. And I mentioned that if you look in the background of Andy Griffith, when they walk by the barbershop together on the street and they're just like, well, Andy, what do you think we ought to do? And they're walking by, you'll see Floyd the barber on all four praying to Mecca in the barbershop if you look close. And Chris and the other guy, I don't know if I'm just that dry these days, but they were like, really? That's fascinating.
Dude, that's a great joke. I think that's freaking hilarious.
I felt awful. I felt like I conned some children into getting into a van where I was like, come on, it's Mambas. They're chewy.
Well,
the worst is dealing with people who just don't understand the context of a joke.
Yeah. It could be tough. It could be tough, especially if the conversation's really heavy, and then you bring up that whole bit. That's great, dude.
Yeah, the poor guy running from Islam is he even knows who the hell Andy Griffith and Barney Fife are, right?
Right.
He's not talking about senators from South Carolina. He's all worried he's on a list now. Not that he's not. He is on a list. But not for that. Not for that.
No. I have a question. Just pivoting a little bit. I have a question. I have to. I'm gonna start binging a new show, and the show. My girlfriend and I have this set up in the fact that we each get to take turns binging a show and force
go back and forth is what you mean. Like Andy gets a pick, and then Lady gets a pick.
So we just finished Space Force, the first season of Space Force.
Yep.
Perfect.
And
I don't know if I got that far, but I enjoyed it. I think it was good.
I think the last 5 episodes, once they figured out that Malkovich and Carell should just be taking as much screen together, they should be in the same frame. And once you get those two guys together, which I don't think happened until episode 5, to tell you the truth, in any meaningful way. That's when magic started happening for me.
See, I'm on the opposite. I think Malkovich did great. They gave him a wonderful character and a great arc. Very similar to, I think, how he started off as one thing and kind of progressed into something different. Much similar to Andre Braugher's character in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where he started off as this character and you could see him morph into being one of the crazy. I love that character so much. Into one of the crazies. what I loved so much, or I think was the show stealing for Space Force, was Ben Schwartz and Jimmy O Yang. I feel like the two of them stole the thing. Like I could have watched that entire without Steve Carell one bit. He's fine in it. I accept that he's not Michael Scott.
Yes.
What the character is from The Office. I accepted that from the end because I didn't want to see a rehash. I didn't want to see Space Force version of The Office. I didn't want to see General Michael Scott. I didn't want to see that. I'm glad the character's similar because it's still Steve Carell.
Yeah.
Doing Steve Carell, which is basically what Michael Scott is to an amplified version. And now his general character is just a different amplification of Steve Carell. And I think it's fine and it's wonderful. But I think the best parts of it were more Ben Schwartz, Jimmy O Yang. Comedically, I think they were the best part. And Malkovich is just Malkovich. Like,
yeah, he just eats up the screen. He's perfect.
Eats it up in the most perfect way. Like certain actors, like Ben Kingsley, if you give, or what's the guy who played Odin? Not Ben.
Anthony Hopkins.
Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins can go so big and over the top because now he's gotten to the point where he can do whatever he wants on set and nobody says shit. But he is a person that needs to be reeled back a little bit. Malkovich does not need to be reeled back. He knows the upper limits of his eccentric acting character work, and he just hits the top that is appropriate and perfect and nails it. Jack
he knows where his ceiling is. Like he knows where the ceiling is. He knows where when he's hitting it over the fence, and he knows how to like ding it to the wall, right? Like
unfortunately, certain people like I was saying, Anthony Hopkins is now so way over the top. Nobody wants to reel him back in to make it a little bit. I think hasn't done anything terrible, but there's definitely times where you're like, okay, you need to reel this. Like the movie,
get it?
Yeah, the movie with him and like his son-in-law and whatnot that are lost in the woods and running
Oh,
around.
I love that movie. That is here's the thing about that movie. If you ever get the chance to go to rehab, go, because they will have that movie in their collection. And it's a great opportunity to see that movie. What's it called? The Wilderness?
Something like that, yeah. I just felt like in that movie it was too much Anthony Hopkins being Anthony Hopkins, and I'm like, ugh. And it was for me, personally, in my opinion. So, but
Alec Baldwin's still fat, but he can take a grizzly bear.
Oh yeah, right. I mean, it's the same with there's that new movie on Netflix, Spencer Confidential, that I was fortunate enough, like they employed me for enough days for me to pay 2 months rent of just standing around on set for 12 hours a day and never being on camera. But in the movie Spencer Confidential, there is a scene where Mark Wahlberg is standing on the corner of the street and a Lamborghini or like some sports car drives by with a drug dealer in it that he's been trying to chase down the whole movie. And he just takes off and starts running down Comm Ave, chasing after this Lamborghini and this drug dealer, gets hit by a car, rolls over the hood, gets up, continues to chase this Lamborghini on foot, and then gets attacked by a dog and has to fend off a dog. And if you told me to write a spoof Mark Wahlberg theme, that would be the exact that I would write. So there was them going, all right, what is the most Mark Wahlberg thing we can Mark Wahlberg? That is it. Very much in the same vein where Anthony Hopkins fighting a grizzly bear is the most insane Anthony Hopkins things you can probably think of.
Hey, did you guys see that? I think that was the bad guy driving by in that Lamborghini.
Oh, I got. Oh, you should learn to keep your dog on a leash. Tell your mother.
Lady, you gotta keep that dog on a leash, all right? Hey, I gotta commit this hate crime against this Asian guy right now. Hang on, give me 1 second real quick.
That's great, dude. That's great.
Andy, I'm so sorry. Dennis and I went berserk like 280.
No, that was great. That was fantastic.
What show are you watching next? What are you watching next?
I don't know. I have to pick a current show that now it could be like 3 seasons in, or it could be brand new, but I have not made a choice as of yet.
Well, we're getting real pressure from good friends of ours to watch Hunters. And we watched about the first half of the first episode, and I was concerned Pacino was going to be a little too, Pacino in the shit. And he actually plays it pretty well, and it's Jordan. This goddamn COVID! I swear to God.
So I like the idea because there's Nazis. They're Nazis.
I just gave his computer a virus because it froze.
Oh yeah, it is. It's like hardcore. The virus mutated. That's what happened.
There's the techno virus. All those cyberpunk movies were warning us about.
exactly it.
But yeah, Space Force was good. Unfortunately, with Hunters, that was now I haven't seen it, and I don't think I'm going to see Hunters because I'm not buying into the premise of it. If I understand what it is correctly, it's a bunch of people in America hunt down former Nazis.
Yeah, that's how I understand it. Yeah, it's basically.
What's the basic plot of?
It's that, but it's kind of like putting together the ragtag team who don't plan to go out and hunt Nazis together. And it's 1977, so at least timeline, it's not like it's modern. It's not like you're like my whole hang up was when I didn't know it was like 1975, 1977. I was like, so you're gonna hunt down these 120-year-old people and shoot them? I mean, what's our plan here? Like, we don't really have a fight on our hands here. You could just push them out of the wheelchair, and Pacino's like, got him. But
their
so instead it's 1977, so like the Nazis are like in their 50s. Yeah. I'll tell you this. I was very hesitant. I watched the opening scene. The very opening scene takes place at a pool party. That's all I can say. And it will drop your jaw to the floor like you're at an Epstein birthday party.
Very good. Dennis, do you have any recommendations?
Or Bryan Singer. I'm sorry. I want to be equal. I want to be fair.
Good.
Call back and make sure you call back to that. No, unfortunately, this is the thing. I'm not getting. I'm avoiding getting into like binge watching anything. So what I end up doing is just watching YouTube carpentry videos and filmmaking videos and stuff like that for 6 hours a day and realize, I wasted my entire day. But I will say the things that I did watch and just knock out in a day or two. Season 2 of Dead to Me. It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, Christina Applegate and
who is it?
Maura Tierney, and that's not her name. She was on ER and replaced Maura Tierney. And that's why I always get her name mixed up because this is the first thing ER was the first thing I saw her in, and she's amazing. She played Hawkeye's wife in the Avengers movie.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That will come to me any moment now. That's on the tip of my tongue. She was
on Freaks and Geeks. Yeah.
She is. She's absolutely wonderful doing character work. Christina Applegate's comedic timing is so underrated that she has done so much great. Hey, she's a good actress at reacting naturally, but her comedic timing is so underrated because you never think of her as she's done so many good comedies and whatnot, so low key input on that stuff that you don't realize that she has this amazing timing to deliver a joke, especially a dark joke on top of everything. Linda Cardellini is their name. I had to just not think about how Italian her name is. Linda Cardellini is absolutely amazing. I love everything about her and what she does. She's wonderful in the show. It takes you into some really great twists. They set the bar so high at the end of season 1 that it was going to be near impossible for them to achieve that level of surprise and storytelling, and they managed to pull it off amazingly. And of course, they end third season with another "what the fuck? Oh my god!" Or sorry, they end second season going into third season with another "oh my god! What WTF? What's going to happen? How are they going to get past all this?" And I can't recommend the show enough. Everybody's fantastic on it. It's also, we're hearing a type of story that's never been told before. Like, we're looking at these two women who are grieving, and they're just their characters, and it's very original and it's very good. And hey, look, if you're into diversity and all that stuff, this is the perfect thing for you. If you're not into that stuff, they don't hammer you over the head with it. It's just good fashion TV with good drama and good stories, and wonderfully acted by a cast of fantastic people. So, Dead to Me, if you have, it's probably an amazingly original story.
Well, I might go with Hunter, but the thing is, because I like Nazis, but Dead to Me could be the thing that I binge after that. Once Amy has her turn, something. So yeah.
I'll say this: we've got into the mindless world of Entourage. Tara had never seen it on first run or ever, and I am fascinated by how in an early 20s Sam Slade thought any of the shit going on that show was any kind of okay.
Yeah. Well, I try. I watched. I've seen episodes of Entourage, but I was really into Ballers, which was the new Entourage. But
right.
They did, which is on the surface you could say is the new Entourage, but it's not.
No, Ballers is great. Ballers is it's really good storytelling. It's really, really interesting storytelling.
I mean, it's heavily misogynistic, but they handle it in a way that does not glorify what's going on and what's happening. They
Can
show
you give an example?
the misogyny that is intrinsic in the world of football is in fact a detriment to a lot of them, and they have some really great strong female characters too, overcoming that. The woman that plays well, the wife of the linebacker character who ends up like retiring and becoming a coach, like
the nurse, the wife at the nurse, she steals the whole series. She's great.
She's fantastic.
But
the woman who plays the commissioner of the NFL or whatever that deals with.
She's really good.
I mean, I want to try and say that Andrea something Kimball is her name. She played The Rock's girlfriend the first 2 seasons of it.
Yeah. She's the ESPN reporter.
Ariana Kimball, I want to say her name is. I want to give her credit for being good, but I don't think they really gave her much to work with other than being his girlfriend to motivate him to try and become, to go into therapy or whatever.
The Rock.
Her thing.
The businessman Rock.
Yeah, of being a sports reporter wasn't really well done and wasn't fleshed out. Also, I don't want to give her any credit because I did a movie with her and she got me thrown off set because she was uncomfortable taking her shirt off in front of me as a background actor. So, fuck you, Ariana Kimball. No, she's very nice. What the movie was, it's a movie called Brooklyn Brothers Beat the Best. Good luck trying to find it. And in the movie, there's a scene at like a frat party, house party, and I was positioned perfectly for the camera, just to be standing in front of another person drinking pretending to drink at the party. And then she has this, she pushes past with the main character, pushes past us into a bedroom, throws him on the bed, hops on top of him, and then takes her shirt off as the door slowly closes. And we did one take and then goes, I'm not comfortable doing this scene with a man around who can see me without my shirt on. Get him out of here. And I was like, oh, so I got thrown off for the air of being creepy, even before I had the chance to actually be creepy. That sucks. Anyway.
So she doesn't want a man to see her with her shirt off.
Yeah, she didn't want fat, ugly 25-year-old Dennis to see her with her shirt off.
That's bad.
How about, I mean, there's something to be said about it.
All right, guys, we're heading up to an hour. Believe it or not.
Andy, just let me leave you with this real quick. We've been watching Entourage, and I don't know if you guys remember the old theme song where it's like, dun, 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 and the chorus is, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, so now I'm doing this thing where when I watch it, I like to point out stuff no matter where I am in the house that I hear as I'm like doing stuff around the house, and Drama will be like, oh, E, did you hear that Vinny's in trouble for statue rape? And from the other room, I'll just go, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And Tara's about to cancel HBO.
Right. So Sam, before we go, when is the next show that you and Tara are doing together?
It's probably going to be either Sunday or Monday night. You can find us on Facebook at Weirdos at Home, and that's obviously connected to the Friday Mornings with Andy and Sam site. You can find it all interconnected in this incestual world of internet broadcast that we now live in. Tara is now on Twitter. It's at TaraBrown512. I am on Twitter and Instagram at TheSamSlade as always. And that's all I've got to plug.
All right. Dennis, what do you have to plug, sir?
Tonight, I'm doing stand-up comedy for Flappers Comedy Club in LA via Zoom, so you can watch it anywhere across the world. Just go to either flappers.com. It's the 7:30 Pacific time show in the Yoo-Hoo room, or just go to deadairdennis.com. You'll get all the information where you can purchase tickets and what time the show will happen in your time zone nearest you, because now because of Zoom and all of this, we have to be mindful of other people's time zones now, because other people can't be mindful of their own time zone. So I have to.
That's weird.
But go to deadairdennis.com. Come tonight and watch me do stand-up comedy live via Zoom for Flappers, which is one of the most premier comedy clubs in Los Angeles. I'm so happy that they're letting me do shows with them, and that they're actually providing stage time for comedians during all this. They have shows every single night of the week, and they just opened up for dinner. So if you're in the LA area, you can go to Flappers, sit down, have a nice meal, socially distance, and they're doing all those things. The food's fantastic and wonderful, but you can also, there's no shows yet, but you can get dinner, or you can get takeout, go home and watch any of their comedy shows via the comforts of your own home and with their fabulous food. So deadairdennis.com.
Awesome.
That info.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for all of our media consumers consuming whatever we just produced in this last hour. I've had a lot of fun. Thank you once again, Mr. Sam Slade and Mr. Didier Dennis.
Thanks for having me. Fun being back.
Yeah, dude. Always great to have you. Always great to talk to Sam. And I'm always happy to be here. Take care, everyone.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for watching.